These are the most shocking alien images found in classic paintings discussed on Joe Rogan Podcast.
Episode number 1361. Joe Rogan, David Fravor, and Jeremy Corbell examine historical paintings showing mysterious UFO-like objects.
Do you know of, there's a very famous painting that shows what appears to be men in crafts flying through the sky in the background of an ancient painting. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. I actually have a page. One of the first pages I ever put on my website is like a bunch of these, because throughout history, there are these indications of ships, of craft.
But
like,
you know the one I'm talking
yes.
about? It's like, and
yes.
that's the shape of it. It's also like a plate turned on its side, and then there's a person inside
yes.
of it.
Yeah, man. It's
and
exciting.
It's flying through in that same. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, look
it's
how
incredible.
it's flying.
But, you know, the thing is that everybody can say art. The one above that's pretty cool because that was a hidden thing. I've studied that one where it says Discovery 15th century. Above her left shoulder, there is an object, and if you really zoom in, look at the dude staring up at it. As a painter, my wife is a painter, everything is intentional.
Which guy? Where's the guy? The guy on the
right over there. It's pretty cool.
Looking up.
So I think that's 15th century, it said. So the problem with this, Joe, is
Go to the original one, the one that we just looked at, Jamie, the one right before that. Yeah. See, get a big picture of that.
Yeah.
That is so strange. Like,
Yeah,
here
man.
you got Christ being crucified, and then above him, UFOs. Like, is that supposed to be aliens, or is that supposed to be angels? Like, what is that supposed to be in these things that they have? It's real similar to what we're talking about here.
That's the argument of Miracle of Fatima, let's say. I mean, again, this is so speculative. We have a witness here of, Pilate, but when you see something like the Miracle of Fatima, if you look at that...
What is the Miracle of Fatima?
God, that's that one that was, considered a real miracle by the church, and the 3 kids were getting messages, I'll get this all wrong, but for like months that they're going to be visited and to bring people, and bigger groups gathered to where there was over 100,000 people.
What year is this?
1917. So, dozens of thousands, if not hundreds, but dozens for sure, see an event, a mass sighting of something that happened. We're talking people that were religious, people that weren't religious, doctors at the time.
That's not a real image, is it, Jamie?
That one was doctored a little bit, so you could see they're all looking at something.
But that's not real.
Yeah,
but that's the crowd, right? The crowd is real. Is that right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. People come out, something happened that was so intense. Some people thought it was religious, that it was a visitation, but other people saw it as technological, like something descended. Look into it. I'm just saying, art, pictures, like paintings we're talking about, man, you can interpret them all day. I can't hold on to that. I can hold on to an eyewitness with other eyewitnesses, with radar systems, and with video. We're in a different era now. We don't have to paint it, man. We get to see it. It's fascinating, man. It
is fascinating, but it's way more fascinating when someone like you talks about it versus some fucking random kook. That's what makes me incredibly interested, is just your credibility and the fact that this is not, you don't have a history of seeing wacky shit that other people don't see.
No, just this once.
But it's on video, and that there's other ones as well. It's really strange. And I've seen people try to explain it away, and what I don't like about when they explain it away or attempt to explain it away is that they're trying really hard. They're not going, who knows what this fucking thing is? They're not looking at it like cleanly. They're looking at it like a quote-unquote skeptic. I don't like the idea of being a skeptic. Not that I don't think you should be skeptical of certain things. I certainly think you should be, but there's a lot of people that brand themselves as skeptics, and I think it's a lazy way to look at things. I really do, because I think you're just looking for the holes in things without looking at it objectively. If you wanted to be a scientist, if you wanted to be someone who is a fan of science, then you have to look at it as a thing. Like, look at this information and let's study this without any bias, any preconceived notions. I don't think they're doing that. They're looking at it and they're trying to find a way where they can justify that it's fake. And they're just doing all sorts of mental gymnastics to try to make it fake. That video that you show where that thing slips off to the left and takes off at incredible rates of speed, that alone should freak people the fuck out.
Yeah, well, I think because people confuse all the time, like we took the video. No, it was another crew that took the video. We watched it for 5 minutes with our eyeballs. and there was 4 of us, and we all have the same story. We all saw the same stuff. We all came back and looked at each other and scratched our head and said, WTF, serious? What was that?
Episode number 2059 with Adam Greentree. Ancient Aboriginal Art, Alien-like Figures, Vanished Languages, and Hidden History.
One of the things we were talking about last time you were here was that when you explained that there's 700 different languages that these Aborigines have, and that a mob, that's what they call like a tribe, a mob of Aborigines, could be just 10 kilometers away from another mob.
Yeah, so one community to the next.
They don't know what the other people are saying.
Yeah, they wouldn't know their language.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. And then, like, imagine that many different countries inside of America.
Right.
Like, there'd be so much conflict. So a lot of these communities had conflict with one another, and then certain amounts of them were actually pushed off the land as it become, farmland or whatever it might have been, and have now been pushed into like communities where there's all these other separate countries, essentially dialects, that have got to now coexist, and like they've been at war with one another since the dawn of their time, so it's like it's pretty full on when you think about it like that. And then the other thing that's really hard is, how do they teach that in schools where there's 700 different dialects?
Are these, and they're not documented, these dialects,
A
right?
lot of them aren't. A lot of them are dying out with the people, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a shame.
This thing that you were saying about these cave paintings that show these animals, can we find those?
You probably could, yeah. I'm sure there's something documented on the net, more than me just saying they look similar. I'm sure
Right.
there's something like that. But like whether they were a spiritual person or animal or being is hard to say. But you hear stories about the hairy people and things like that. Like that ain't people, eh?
Yeah, what is that?
Australian yowie.
It's like a really skinny Darth Vader.
We put the Western word on it.
What is it? Yowie?
Yowie, like your Bigfoot.
Oh. So did they... Whoa, what is that image? That's the Yowie? So this is...
That looks like the bloody devil eating
the
someone
idea
there.
of something that... So these... And there's more... Wow, there's more than one of these.
Yeah.
Huh. This thing that they... What are they showing?
Can. Yeah, look at the similarity in them.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
And what are those
Gets you
things
thinking.
to the left of it? Like, what is that thing?
I don't know.
Like, what are all those things? It looks like a giant ball floating with a string attached to it. Like, but there's so many. Scroll back down again, Jamie. There's so many similar images of these long-armed creatures with 4 fingers. Whoa.
Isn't that amazing, eh?
Do they know how old these paintings are?
I'm sure they do know some of them. But there's artifacts going back 70,000 years now.
Whoa.
He got 6 toes, whatever that is.
Yeah. What is that thing?
So, and there was like big like events in the last 10,000 years, as in like meteor strikes and things like that. So it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a big one that's detailed off the coast of Australia around 5,000 years ago. Like, look at these things. How weird. Look at their heads.
Aliens, Joe.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So like, yeah. I think there's even some paintings of like spaceships,
Really?
or what you would consider as spaceships.
Wow. Now, did the Aborigines, do they have a history of the use of psychedelics? Are there psychedelic drugs?
Take it there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because there was a lot of bush medicine that they used. So, whatever the side effects
those
could have
things.
been of that.
Look at those fucking
Yeah.
things. Like
Look
bush,
how many there is.
bush medicine. Like, what does that mean?
Like just natural herbs, natural things that, it might be the sap of a tree, it might be leaves boiled up, it might be some sort of nut.
Australian rock art might be the oldest in the world. Wow.
Does it actually say how old?
Look how
60,000 years.
fucking
Yeah, I know.
60,000 years ago, and they look like aliens.
Yep.
I mean, those look
Isn't
exact.
that incredible?
Giant black eyes, huge heads. That looks exactly like the classic gray alien.
Some paintings might also mean something else. So, like, I know we're looking at those as faces, but
Right.
so one of my company's logos it's a bunch of dots, and the words Nalia, which is in the Nullamar language, which is like the community that I'm near. In the Nullamar language, it means like people come together to create a community. And then so those drawings that we just looked at could also be similar to that. Like there's two communities that are coming together.
Oh.
The line in the middle might mean this is their land, which could be a ridge line, so your land's there, our land's here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole circle around it could actually mean the world or community, everything together. So even though it looks like a face, it could actually mean something a lot different.
Right.
And that's one of the difficulties in Australia with teaching the traditional peoples past is there's so much to it. And there's so much that's not understood from one community to the other. So it does make it very difficult. But it's sad that it is getting lost.
Well, and when you're dealing with 700 different languages and people that have lived in this area for 60+ thousand years,
Yes.
I mean, that is crazy. Yeah. I mean, how much work is being done to document all this stuff?
I don't really know. A lot of these communities are very remote, so I don't know how much help there actually is for them. I don't know how many people can go to a place like that to document it.
Right.
I don't know how many people are actually qualified to document it either. So, it is very difficult.
And do they have written language when it comes to this?
Yeah,
all of them?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 700 written languages.
I don't know about written language really. Because it's one thing to speak a language because that's what you know, but what reason do they have to write it down?
Right. Do they have an alphabet like we do, or do they share the alphabet?
I don't believe so.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know enough to say too much because I don't
understand.
want to offend these people,
Right.
And I'm definitely no expert on it. I can only give you, what I do know and what I've heard and
Right.
and learnt myself. But I think a part of the struggle in Australia with Aboriginal culture is that it's not a written language. So, like, how can it be passed on to someone else? You're either in the family and you grew up listening to the language and understand it,
Right.
or you don't. So,
Or you don't. Yeah.
Episode number 2059 with Adam Greentree, Ancient Aboriginal Art, Alien-like Figures, Vanished Languages, and Hidden History.
So what year was your incident? And you have a very, very famous incident that's corroborated by actual evidence, which is one of the rare ones. What year was it, and where did it take place?
So it was 2004, November 14th. It's really, if you draw San Diego to Ensenada, Mexico, we're about 60 miles off the coast in between the two. We're doing workups, so when we get ready to deploy, this was for the 2005 deployment. We were going at sea for November and December of 2004. So we had been out. I had just taken over the squadron mid-October, so I'd been the CO for a month. So we go out and we're putting the battle group pieces together. So it's not just the air wing, but we're on the carrier. We've got the cruiser. We've got all the support ships out there, and we're going to integrate all the defenses and train as one unit. So the exercise that we're going to do is an air defense exercise where there's good guys, bad guys. They're all from the air wing. So the bad guys today are going to be the Marines, VMFA 232, the Red Devils. So they're going to launch, and they're going to go about 100 miles south of the ship, and we're the good guys, and we call it a 2v2, so it's two of us against two of them. And we're going to work with the USS Princeton, which is going to be the controller, and they're going to control the blue forces, and then the red guys are going to give us a presentation that, they're going to try and intercept so we can stop them from getting up towards a carrier. So that's kind of the training set that we're all good. So the Marines take off first, and they start heading to the south. Now, we have no idea that for 2 weeks, the 2 weeks we've been at sea, they've been tracking these things coming out of the sky. And when I talked to the Princeton controller, he's like up to about a dozen of them. They would come down from above 80,000 feet. They'd drop down to about 20,000 feet, they'd hang out, and then they'd go straight back up after about 3 or 4 hours.
Now, when you say they've been tracking them, who specifically?
This is the USS. The Princeton was tracking them. They saw them on the Nimitz radar, and the E2 could see them. Because they're out there, that radar's on all the time. And the Spy 1 system on an Aegis cruiser is, the state is probably one of the most sophisticated systems in the world.
So typically when something like this happens and there is some unexplained phenomenon, what do they do?
In this case, if we were in a threat environment, they would tell us. But we're off the coast of San Diego. It doesn't come to the air wing. So we have no idea that these things are out there at all.
So they observe these things and they never bother telling any of you guys?
That's correct.
So they just knew that these things had been visiting this area,
yes.
But they just allowed this training exercise to take place anyway.
Yeah, talking to them, for the 2 weeks, they would show up, but it was when we weren't flying. So the typical carrier schedule is, for us, it was about noon to midnight. It's a 12-hour day. There's reasons for that. It can go a lot longer. But for training, we just do the 12-hour day thing. And it's cyclic ops, so you got guys taking off and landing periodically. So we were on one of the first goes. It's noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, and we take off. The Marines take off first, and my buddy Cheeks, who's the CO of the Marine Squadron, he was leading the Red Air. When he launched off the carrier first, they called him up and said, "Hey, what do you got on board?" Well, the original legacy F-18s don't have as much gas as the Super Hornets. Super Hornet's about 30% bigger. So they start talking to him about fuel, and based on how long we're going to be airborne and everything else, they go, "Hey, why don't you just go ahead and proceed to your cap point?" Because we had just taken off. And that's when the controller had come up and said, "Hey," I forget our call sign. It's probably like dealer is usually what we went. So that'd be like dealer 11. This is Princeton Control. What do you got? Say your loadout. And I kind of chuckled. I said, well, I got a CATM 9, which is basically just a blue metal tube with a seeker head for an AIM-9 IR missile. It's a training. It doesn't come off the airplane. You can beat it with a sledgehammer. That's the only way you're going to get it off, or you got to unlock the lugs with a key. So I'm like kind of chuckling. He goes, "Well, hey, we're going to cancel the training." So we're like, okay. He says, "We got real world vector, and they're going to send us out to the west." So picture if it's, if you got a clock, the Nimitz is in the middle. We're a little bit south of that, about 40 miles south, and then the Marines are about 100 miles south of the ship, about 60 miles between the two of us. So as this is all happening, my wingman is joining up, and these are F-18Fs, so there's 2 people in each jet. So it's me and my Wizzo, which is weapon systems operator, and I've got the other pilot and the weapon systems operator in the other jet. So they tell us all this, hey, we're going to real world vector, and they send us out 270 about 60 miles away from where we're going. So now we're going out even further out to sea. We have no idea what we're intercepting, and this is when the controller starts talking to us. He says, "Hey, sir, we've seen these objects. For 2 weeks, they've been coming down," and he's giving us the whole story. He says, "We need you to go investigate. We want to know what these are."
But they're asking you to investigate in a jet that's unarmed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no... And there's reasons for that we don't fly. We typically don't fly with live ordnance unless we're actually going into like a combat zone or we're on a training range and we're going to shoot something. And the reason is you can go through history of the Navy or Air Force. If you put live missiles on airplanes and then you start doing training where you're squeezing the trigger, someone always messes the switchology up and someone gets shot down. It's happened multiple times. So we don't do it. There's times that we do, but it's rare. So we start flying out to the west. Now I want you to think, because the other pilot has when you talk to, it's out there, it was a female. When you talk to her, here's the kind of goes through the mindset of, hey, we're off the coast of Mexico, real world vector. We have no idea what we're going to look at. Probably drug runner, because you get the drug runners coming up the coast. So we're like, okay. So we drive out, and they're calling down ranges. So they're telling us, hey, it's 270 at 30 miles at 20,000 feet. And it's, and then you just count down the ranges. And we're talking back and forth the whole time. So they got to a point where they say, hey, merge plot, which means radars have resolution cells, range and azimuth of what the radar can actually see. Once you're inside that box, you can't tell the difference between me and the object I'm going at. We're just become one big blob. So they call merge plot, and so the other jet is on my left-hand side, and I'm going to go to a clock code to make it simple. So the object we're going to end up looking for is right in the middle of the clock, and we are at the 6 o'clock position, and my wingman is off to my left side, so she's further down with her Wizzo. So as we're looking around, we look to the right, and there's yesterday was a perfect example out here. The water is perfectly calm. No white caps. I mean, it's literally a perfect San Diego, California day. And we see whitewater, something like if you see a seamount, rock underwater when you're standing on the shore and the waves are breaking over it and you're like, what is that? It's usually because there's a rock under the water. So it looks like that, but it's about the size of a 737. It actually kind of has a shape of like a cross, and it's pointing to the east. So you've got the long part going east-west, and you got a couple of things going north and south. So as we're looking at it, because that kind of draws our eyes, we're like, oh, that's kind of odd. We look down, and the Wizzo in the other airplane comes up and says, hey, skipper, do you? And that's about what he gets out of his mouth. And I'm kind of looking at the same thing. I go, dude, do you see that? What is that thing? And what we see is this white tic-tac looking object just above the surface of the water, pointing north-south, and it's going north-south, east-west. It's just radically moving forward, back, left, right at will. And it's moving around the disturbance, the whitewater that we see.
How big is this thing?
So, over time, it's about 40 feet long. And the way I estimate that is, I got a lot of time fighting other airplanes, so it's about the size of a Hornet fuselage. So that's why you say 40 feet. And this thing's just going left. So the first thing you see when you look down, you go, and this is with our eyes, it's not sensors, right? So we're looking down at this thing, and first thing you think is helicopter, right? Helicopters typically stay below 200 feet when we're out there, and they're just driving around. We're pretty far away from the ship for a helicopter for one of ours. So what is it? So the first thing you look for is rotor wash. If you've watched any TV show that starts kicking the water up, and you can see that. It's really easy to see from the air. So we're like, no rotor wash. Matter of fact, don't see any rotors. Don't see any tail rotor. Don't see any, the main rotors. We're like, that's kind of weird. So as we're driving around, we're looking at this thing. We get to about the 9 o'clock position.
How far away are you from this thing?
I'm at 20,000 feet, and it's right down on the surface, right off our right side. So I'm probably maybe a couple miles lateral and 20,000 feet, and we're just watching it move around. And
so it's very small in your eyes.
Not overly small. An airplane down that low, it's 40 feet. You can see pretty well. It was pretty clear. So I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm gonna go check it out. That's what we're trained to do. The other pilot says, hey, I'm gonna stay up here, and I'm like, that's perfect. So now we'll get some separation. We'll get it from different views, and the other airplane will kind of have a God's eye view of everything that's going on as I go down and check this thing out. So I start driving around, and it's still doing its forward, back, left, right. It's still pointing north-south. We get to about the 12 o'clock position. I'm just in a nice, easy descent. And a reason, because I've been asked, could you go more aggressive? You can, but when you're out over water, the water looks the same at 20,000 feet as it does at 2,000 feet. You don't, so you can easily put yourself in a non-recoverable position if you're not paying attention and you go into the water. So I got this nice, easy descent. I get to about 12 o'clock, and as I'm coming down, I could guess probably about, 18,000 feet now, a couple thousand feet below the other airplane. The tic-tac just kind of rapidly goes boop and turns, so now it's kind of pointing east-west, and now it mirrors us. So it's above the surface, we're up high, we're coming down, it starts coming up. I'm like, well, this is getting interesting. So we kind of drive all the way around a circle, I'm descending, it's coming up, and I get over to about the 8 o'clock position on the clock, and it's over at about the 2 o'clock position. Well, the quickest way, as we know as kids, to get someone, you can keep going around the circle. Nothing's going to happen. You cut across the circle. So I'm about, probably 2,000 to 3,000 feet above it. And I just kind of drop my nose aggressively, and I cut across the circle. And it's coming this way. It's because I'm trying to fly to where it's going to be, because I want to join on it. I want to see how close I can get to it.
Right.
And as I'm pulling up, it's kind of starting to cross my nose, and it starts to accelerate. And within about less than a second, as I start to pull nose onto it and it crosses right in front of me, it just goes poof and it's gone. So I call the other airplane and I said, hey, do you guys see that thing? And they're like, sir, it's gone. We don't see it at all. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. So we don't see it. We're looking. At the same time, I say, hey, let's turn around and let's go back to see what was in the water. Was there something there? So we turn around. We're right there. We haven't gone anywhere. It's gone. Water's perfectly, there's no white water, nothing. It's just blue. We're like, okay. So we turn back around. Now we're heading back out towards the east. And I tell the controller, I said, I first said, I'm kind of weirded out. And I told my backseater that. And we start heading back. And the controller on the Princeton comes up and he says, sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is back at your cap point. That was our original point where we were going to hold 40 miles south of the ship. So this thing has went from wherever we were at to about 60 miles in, maybe 30, 40 seconds. It's already over there. And they didn't track it. It just appeared. It shows back up on their radar and they go, it's here. So we're like, okay. So we fly back. We don't see it. We don't see it on our radar. We don't see it on any of our sensors. We do like 2 runs and we come back to the ship and land. So as we're in we call it the PR shop, we're taking off our flight gear. One of my crews is getting ready to go out, and I think they were going to be on a tanker mission, but they had a targeting pod on board. So they launch off, and we're telling them about this before, and the backseater, Chad, says he's really determined he's going to find this thing. So he tells the pilot, hey, we're going to find this thing. So they're just out driving around, and in the back seat of a Super Hornet, there's no stick, but there's side stick controllers, and they're to control the sensors, because that's what the weapon systems guys do. And they can change displays really fast by just hitting a button, and it'll flip from the radar to the targeting pod. And the way the system actually works is when you see something on the radar and you designate it as your primary target, all the other sensors will look at that point. So everything is kind of synced together. So he picks up a hit on his radar, and he goes to lock it up, because I watched all the tapes. He goes to lock it up, and immediately the radar can tell, it gets signals back that it's being jammed. So, and technically jamming is an act of war. It starts jamming the radar, goes into a jam extrapolate, a bunch of stuff happens on the scope. Well, he's smart enough to castle to his targeting pod, and he takes a passive track, and that's the video that you see of the Tic Tac where it's just sitting in the middle of the screen real quiet. So he does that, and he goes through, if you watch the video, if we had it, I'd go through it with you, but they go through all the different modes. So he goes, it's an IR and an EO. EO is TV. It's black and white TV camera.
We can get the video, right, online?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's get the video, Jamie. Where would you, can't show it to anybody. We can't show it on YouTube, but you can see it, and people will be able to go to it. You know what we'll do? Go to the video, and we'll tell people when we're starting, and we'll tell people what the title of the video that you get to is, and they can sync it up themselves if they're watching it.
It's publicly owned. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's publicly owned. It's, American government released
Right.
it. So it is actually something in the public domain.
So you think we could play it on YouTube and not get pulled?
Yeah.
100%.
You think so, Jamie?
It's a government.
Those things, I would say, yes, we should be able to, but sometimes those things get messy. So
Let's take a
I'd say
chance.
yes. Okay,
Let's
all
take a
right,
chance
all
with
right,
this one.
okay, all right.
I know if you go, if you find a New York Times article, there's a link to it.
It's a Pentagon release.
YouTube is crazy with copyright stuff, and we've always been like 2 steps away from getting pulled off of YouTube completely. It's a real disaster. I understand from their perspective. There's a lot of legal issues they have to deal with, but
I have it on a private server. I could maybe send Jamie.
the issue, I believe, though, is the actual copyright of the video itself.
Oh, it's a Pentagon
released public
Okay,
domain.
and the Pentagon's going to come after us.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Did you find it?
Yeah, I want to find a good version of the video that doesn't have somebody
Jeremy,
else's
do you
copyright.
know?
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
an unwatermarked version. Let me just look it up and
this
send
one
it
has
to you.
tons of
Jeremy will
watermarks
get
all
it
over
to us.
I have to figure out how to send it to you right here. Give me a second.
Do you have AirDrop? Or could you AirDrop it?
Yeah, but
Do
I
you
got
have
it on
copy of
a
it?
page. I got it on a page, a private page. I can send Jamie.
Oh yeah, okay. Do you have Jamie's info?
No.
Yeah,
Send-
I'll write it down.
Okay, I'll figure it
Or
out.
you can
what
send
guys
it to me and I'll send it to him.
Okay.
That's pretty easy. Sorry to disrupt the momentum.
No, you're good.
But I think it's probably important to be able to have this the video itself, so you could just talk about it. And we're about to yank it up here. Okay, Jamie wrote it down for you. There you
Thanks. Give me a second to get it up.
go. Okay. And for people who don't know, Jeremy also produced Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers, and he was in here when we had Bob Lazar in, talk about Bob's experience, and Jesus, if that wasn't a game changer for me and for a lot of other people. This is a subject that it's so easy to mock. This is why I think it's so important that we talk to people like you, because, like I said, just your average, everyday UFO crackpot, they believe everything and anything. Had you ever had any UFO experiences before this?
No, the irony, and I tell this story. My mother-in-law, she'll be listening. She literally, every time I would go home, she would ask me, "Hey, did you see a UFO? Did you see a UFO?" And I'd be like, "No." And when I first started dating my wife, she was a big National Enquirer. She had all the supermarket tabloids, and I would always just feed her crap for it. So this happens, and I never say a word. So my friends all knew it was a great story over beers, because they'd go, "Hey, what's the coolest thing you ever saw flying?" I go, "I chased a UFO." And they go, "Get out of here." I go, "No, seriously." And I tell them the story, and they're like, "Dude." And I go, "Yeah." So I go home, and I got asked by Lou Elizondo to do the New York Times article, which as like anything else, I always say no. Like it took a bunch of times to get me on your show. Jeremy kept asking, and it was.
Thank you, Jeremy.
It was you got to thank my contractor's wife, Angel, who we were at a party drinking, and she goes, "You got to do Rogan." I go, "What?" She goes, "It's the biggest podcast on the planet." She goes, "You got to do it." And I go, "All right, I'm going to do it just for you. I'm going to do this show." So
shout out to Angel.
Yeah, from New Hampshire. So, so my mother-in-law, we're sitting there, and I know the New York Times article is going to come out, and so it was at Thanksgiving when the article came out, 17. So it was Thanksgiving in 2017. And everyone had kind of left the house, so it's just my wife and my in-laws, a couple of us sitting in the kitchen. And I said, "Hey, I got to tell you guys this." They said, "What?" I said, "There's going to be this article comes out in the New York Times, and I'm in it." And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, I chased a UFO." My mother-in-law's like, "Ha ha." She looks at my father-in-law. He's rolling his eyes, looking at me like, "Oh, are you serious?" And I go, "Yeah, yeah." And she's like, "You never told us." I go, "I never really told anyone." I mean, my wife and kids knew the event happened, but they didn't have all the details because it's just one of those things I just didn't get into.
Is it classified?
No.
Or was it at any point in time?
No, there's a lot of rumors out there that it was classified and the ship got locked down. No, it wasn't. We were never, men in suits did not show up. No one told us not to talk about it. And this is because there's a lot of other people saying other things. And I said, look at it. Here's the context. So in the battle group, you've got the admiral, you got the captain of the ship, the captain of the Princeton, and then you've got the other COs. So in position-wise, I'm probably, as a CO of a squadron, in the top 20 out of 6,000. And no one came to talk to me. No one came to take my tapes. No one showed up in a suit. No one told me not to talk. No one talked to any of my air crew that were involved in this. There were 6 people total involved, the 2 that shot the video and the 4 of us that looked at it for 5 minutes with our eyes. No one, nothing. It just, and I can get into how, there's a report that George Knapp got released. I call it the unofficial official report. And I had met someone, and I'm like, "Hey, can you find anything out? I had this incident." And normally you tell people this, they look at you like, "Dude, what are you smoking?" And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm tested. And they go, and they said, "Well, let me see what I can do." And I had got a call. I was doing some aerospace work, and I had gotten a call on my cell phone from a guy. And he said, "Hey, I want to investigate your incident." And I go, "Okay." So he did. He investigated the incident, and it was very, very thorough. I mean, if you've read it's about 10 pages long. And he tracked down everybody. He tracked down all the people that were the air crew that were involved. He tracked down the admiral. It was a pretty thorough report. And I didn't think anything of it, because the people worded it's out there, so they want to do FOIA, but it was never released in a FOIA request. I actually had the Navy call me. I'd been out of the Navy for like 6 years. And
let's explain to people that means Freedom of Information Act.
So I got called by a public affairs person from the Navy and said, "Hey, is this Commander Fravor?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Hey, do you know of any documentation on your UFO incident off the Nimitz?" And I said, "Official." And she said, "Yeah." I said, "No," because I knew the report existed, but to me it was an unofficial because I didn't know where it went. And I had a copy of it, but because it wasn't official, well then, years later, I find out that the guy who actually did the report was part of the ATIP team, and I was talking to Lou Elizondo, who runs that program, and Lou showed me the documentation of the original. I think it's like 13 people that were part of ATIP, and they were FOIA exempt. And I'm like, well, that's hey, I know that guy. He's the guy that did the report, which is why it never ever came out until George got his hands on it.
How is something Freedom of Information Act exempt?
Obviously, DOD has the ability, because I'm not a conspiracy theory person at all. I mean, I'll just tell you that. And I think there's reasons that the government doesn't tell the public everything. And I don't speak for the government, but I think there's a good reason for that not everything needs to go out to the public. But most of it does. And what they do is they put a clause on, hey, for this program or whatever we're doing, which would have been an ATIP program, the work that they do and what they find it's not releasable through Freedom of Information Act. There's probably other avenues to get that. And then you go, well, what really is freedom of information? Because I got into this I was talking to someone who's a conspiracy theorist, and they said, well, so-and-so wrote, and they're not getting any information on your event. I said, so what are they going to do? They're going to call up, you're going to put in your request for freedom of information. You go, here's what I want. It goes to some poor guy at the Pentagon who's like, I have no idea what this is. And he searches around, he doesn't find anything. He looks at his bud, and I go, for you, I go, hey, Joe, you got anything on the Nimitz incident? And you go, nope. And I go, okay, well, I didn't find anything. I looked. I did my due diligence, but I'm not going to spend the next 6 months of my life doing your research project for you.
Right.
So and you get nothing, and then you assume the government's covering up when the government really isn't. They just, the guys doing the research doesn't know where it's at or doesn't have access to it. So.
Makes sense. Jamie, we have the video? Okay. Here we go. Now, explain what are we seeing and why are we seeing it in this particular
Okay,
shade?
so we'll just kind of go around. So if you look at the OPRs operate in the top left corner. NAR is narrow field of view, which is zoomed in. IR at the top middle, it means it's in infrared mode. So instead of seeing color, you're seeing temperature variations. Okay. And these things are extremely sensitive to in like tenths of degrees. They will tell you the difference due to color. So it'll go from black to white. So in this case, white is hot. So if you look down in the bottom left corner, it says WHT. That's white. It means white is hot. So the object that you're looking at is hotter than the sky around it. But what you also notice is there's no plumes. Now, if you're looking at an airplane, when you get closer, you'll actually see the exhaust coming out, and there will be a really glowing plume. That's important as we look at the video. And then most of the stuff on here you really don't need to know. What you can look at is the bottom right corner. It says 19,990 and a B. That's the altitude. And if you look up in the little words where it says HDG and then BALT, it's autopilot. So it's on altitude hold. It's just flying for that. So you can go ahead and play the video. And so those two bars next to the white object, that's a passive track. So what he's done is he's commanded the FLIR to track that. So what the system does is it uses, it's actually tracking, it can track pixels, and it's just basically blocked those hot pixels, those white pixels from the black ones. And then you're going to see now, pause it real quick. So up at the top, see it went to a white screen with the black object. This is a black and white TV mode. And if you look at the top, it says TV. So narrow in TV mode is actually, you can get closer than narrow in IR. It's literally narrow in IR is about medium in TV mode. So you can get closer with the TV mode. So as you look at it now, in this case, you would actually start to see stuff going on. And even in TV mode, because you get exhaust, the black exhaust that comes out, you'll usually be able to see kind of some of that coming out of the back, and you don't see anything. This thing's just sitting there. And if you look at the top where it says 3 right, that's the pod is looking 3 degrees right of the nose of the airplane, right? So he's just flying along. The bottom numbers, don't worry, those are time. So it's 41:56. So go ahead and hit play. And what he's doing is Chad's going through all the different modes because he's like, oh, I got it. And he's going to try and see the best video that he can get. Now, there's rumors that this video is like 10 minutes long. No, what you're looking at is the entire video. Now, notice where it says 99.9. So hit pause real quick. What that means is while he's got the targeting pod, because that's his primary sensor right now, the radar is still trying to look at this object and trying to range it, and the radar can't get ranging on it. So the object is doing something to say, I'm not giving you back, because it's just a Doppler radar, just like a police radar is a Doppler. It's trying to get a ranging on you, and it can't do it. So when it says 99.9, the radar cannot see this object right now. It's not allowing it to get ranging.
And I think that's super important, Dave, the way he explained it to me. Active jamming compared to passive jamming. This is a technology that is actively jamming this system.
Rather than something like stealth aircraft, which is the shape and the texture of the...
Yeah, it's... Because everyone thinks stealth is invisible. It's not. It's a technology to basically make it harder for radars to see you. And that's the whole thing. If you look at airplanes that are nose on are harder to see than airplanes at the sides. Kind of like think of a barn door. If you're looking at the whole barn door, it's really easy to see. If I turn the barn door sideways where it's really thin, it's going to be a lot harder for you to see it.
Got it.
So that's the easiest, most basic way to look at this. So keep going. You can play again. And you can look, the airplane is still sitting at 20,000 feet. It's doing 250 knots. He's going to go through different modes and try and lock it. And it's just kind of sitting, and all of a sudden, as the video goes on, I think it's a minute and a half long. See, it's going to try and reacquire. It recenters the pod. So it's slowly drifting to the left. The Hornet is still going the same heading, just kind of hanging out. And they're just filming this thing. And then when they get close, it's going to zing off the left-hand side. When you see it on a full, because this, you think digital, you'd be able to get a one-for-one copy. Unlike, when you copy your album to a cassette, you lose a little quality. Well, you still do in digital world. And off it goes to the left. And that's pretty fast to leave that field of view. When we have big monitors that we look at these when they come back, so we're looking at the original tapes. So
play the end of that again, please, Jamie. So when it's taking off, how fast, when it just sort of like leaves the field of view and takes off to the left, how fast is that going?
I would say pretty fast. It's an estimate. If we had ranging, you could obviously do the triangle and go, hey, because we know how big the field of view is. But for something to leave the field of view that fast with the pod just staring is pretty fast. I mean, it's like out of here.
Like nothing that we have?
No, because we can't. I don't care what airplane is. So let's just use the F-22 Raptor. That's probably it's probably the best airplane in the world right now, performance-wise. It can't take off like that, especially if it's a hover. I mean, you're talking something that's just sitting in space in the wind, and then it just all of a sudden accelerates. Airplanes don't work that way.
And it's not leaving any exhaust plume.
No, notice there's none. And when you go back to the IR
at the end.
Even in the IR, you don't.
Yeah, see, there's IR zoomed in, and there's no. You would see a plume if that was an airplane.
It's creepy how it takes off.
Yeah.
With active jamming, it's intelligently controlled. There's no rotors, there's no plumes, there's no exhaust, there's no tail fin, there's no tail number. This thing goes from a standstill, takes off. It's a propulsion system we don't have in our inventory, and no other nation does. That's how it's understood by the government.
Now that's so if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do that same maneuver, this system would be able to track it?
It would stay with it until it got to the limits of the pod, as far as looking to the left. But
right.
And the radar would see it. I mean, when you get close enough, you're gonna, everything becomes visible because you get burned through with radar and how radars actually work. This one is, you tell me, but this was performance beyond. I mean, it's like when we saw it disappear when it flew in front of my nose. And I'm talking something, I'm within a half mile of it, looking at it. And it gets in front of me and just disappears. So we'll just go to something that everyone knows is fast. Let's just say SR-71 that's doing Mach 3. The visibility is 50 miles. So even at 35 miles a minute, I'm going to be able to see this thing turn into a little dot as it goes off into the horizon for probably a minute. The thing that we saw disappeared in a second. Just gone. And that's from two different angles. Remember, the other airplane's 8,000 feet above me because we get close to it at about 12,000 feet. So the other airplane's above me looking down, and when it disappeared, I said, "Do you guys see it?" And they said, "No, it's gone." It just literally was poof.
Episode number 2288. Joe Rogan and Jacques Vallée revisit overlooked UFO encounters involving humanoid 9 with Tom DeLonge. Joe Rogan dives into hidden UFO tech and secret government timelines.
So you're obsessed with UFOs, right? Is that safe to say?
It's safe to say, but it's not so much just the UFO itself. I mean, I don't call them that anymore. We call these advanced aerial threats. They're different, but
threats.
You honed in on a word we weren't supposed to really get into here in the first part of the show.
Did you have a plan?
I have a very long plan, detailed plan. We're going to start with my body. We're just going to talk about my body for a lot. And
okay, what do you want to talk about when it comes to your body?
Well, my body is interesting. It's unique.
Okay.
And it changes shape. And what I've noticed is it's just changing.
Yeah, it's getting larger.
Larger, getting wider.
Depending upon what you put in it.
But you're all. Can I cuss?
Yeah, for sure. We're on the internet.
You're so fucking fit. You shook my hand. I think you're going to break my hand.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just don't be strong.
I didn't mean to.
Don't be so handsome
I was just shaking
and
your
strong.
hand. Just thought it was a handshake.
I know. Well, it's one of those power moves. You ever see when Trump shakes people's hands and he pulls them in and he's like...
yeah, he does do weird shit,
He does
right?
weird shit like that, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I just meant to shake your hand like a man.
Well, I took it as like, know your place, motherfucker.
Oh,
this is my
weird.
show.
I didn't think that.
No, I'm just joking.
Interesting. So... when did you get obsessed with this aerial threat thing? And why do you call them threats?
We'll get into that, I guess.
Okay.
But I got into it when I was in junior high. For some weird reason, I had like some time off and I went to the school library in like 7th grade, and I was like, damn, I gotta read some boring shit. What am I gonna read? And I saw this one book, and it had a picture of the Loch Ness Monster in like a UFO. I'm all, that looks cool. And I read that, and I was like, holy cow, these are like real. It wasn't all science fiction. I mean, the way the book was laid out, I was like, these are like real events. I'm all, there's no way, really? And then when the band started doing its thing in the back of the van, there were no like smartphones, so we were buying books. And I would just lay there. We'd have like 20-hour drives. And so I started buying books on the UFO phenomenon. And I was, once you do that, it's a black hole, you're done.
Yeah, it's definitely a rabbit hole. You get sucked into it. At my house, I have a framed poster that's the cover of the Roswell Daily News.
Yeah,
That shows the day after the Roswell crash, where it says that the Air Force came and recovered the wreckage, and the whole deal. I've been obsessed with this shit since I was a little kid.
Yeah, I think that's by design. I think that this generation was meant to have this stuff come out. But I can't prove that. That's just my feeling.
What makes you feel that? Like,
because of exactly what you said. There's a lot of people. I don't believe that some of the events happened on accident. I think that there's been a lot of events that are on purpose. Some have been for show. Some have been for. There's a variety of reasons, but I think a lot of it is a control system that's really pushing humanity in a very specific direction. And
so like they've got a time frame where they've had these events take place. Is that what you think?
Yeah, and they also time travel, which is different than what people think in like a movie where they sit in a machine and all of a sudden you're in the 1930s and you got to go save humanity. When you use the technology, there's a time difference between what they're doing inside of an artificially created bubble of gravity of sorts, and then what's on the outside. So if you're on the inside of one of those machines, everything would be skewed more black and white. There would be like a red shift, and everybody would look frozen. So you literally could fly around and grab a Coke out of someone's hand and put it in someone else's hand. It's really...
Where are you getting this from?
Well, take a wild guess. Look at the people I'm surrounded by,
So the people you're surrounded by are telling you this? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but the people I'm surrounded with and myself, are very close to this stuff. But the physics, the physicist that's a co-founder of my company, To the Star, he's a Nobel nominee. He wrote the book on plasma physics.
What's his name?
Hal Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff. And he created remote viewing. Do you know what remote viewing is?
Yeah.
He's the creator of the CIA psychic spy program, but he also has done like really exotic, advanced, forefront propulsion work for the past decades and decades. Actually, I mean, he's deep into the quantum this and that. So he's the one that actually told me about the redshift. Yeah.
And so they have experienced this physically, or is this just theoretical, or they know that it exists? Like
the technology?
Yes.
I believe that the technology not only exists, we've figured out how to play with it, but I'm not going to really get into that here. That is what we're doing at my company, though. That is the announcement. So Steve Justice was head of advanced programs at the Skunk Works, and the Skunk Works are who built, the famous secret bases you hear about. Skunk Works did, the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird, the F-117 stealth fighter, and
it's all Groom Lake out there,
all
right?
that kind of stuff. And he literally was in charge of all the advanced programs. So you got the boss, and you got him, and he came. He just finished his career over there within the past 2 months, I think it is, and he was on stage with me when we came out and said we're going to be building one of these things.
So when you say that all this technology exists, have they explained this to you, or have you seen it physically?
Oh, I haven't seen anything physically like that. I wouldn't be allowed to go anywhere if that does or doesn't exist.
So they've just explained to you that this exists. And that this is in the hands of the U.S. government?
I think no. I don't want to get into that kind of stuff, but if you don't mind.
But why is it that you want to not get into certain things?
Well, I don't want to I represent more than myself these days.
Right.
So I definitely have to watch what I say.
Well, who do you represent when you say you represent more than yourself?
The team that I'm with. So when you look at the people that are a part of my company, it's Undersecretary of Defense and Senior Intelligence Service.
Is there a list of these people that we could see?
Oh, yeah. I thought you guys would have had that.
Yeah, but I mean, is there like a list where folks could see it online?
Yeah, they can go to tothestarsacademy.com and scroll down, and you'll be able to see who they all are. So
how did you get linked up with all these people?
That story might be a better way to start, because a lot of people don't know this part of the story, and I think you're going to find it pretty fucking odd as well. But okay, so we'll back up a couple years. So I was obviously, I started the band Blink, and Blink went places, and And then, but we always had a weird band relationship, like most bands. And we also thought that we would never be big. So we started companies on the side. And I had a company that incubated a lot of small startups, like software and apparel and hardcore skate surf companies and stuff like that. Well, I learned a lot from that, and I pulled out an entertainment startup called To the Stars, and I knew I was going to be doing kind of like science fiction franchised stories, just like Disney, but science fiction for adults. And what that means is, I make a story, I title it, I brand it, and I put out the book, and I put out the merchandise, and I go make a movie, and it's a vertically integrated kind of model. Well, one of the stories I knew I wanted to put out was Secret Machines, which was kind of a historical fiction, but based on real events about the UFO phenomenon. But I also knew that I knew shit that most people don't know, because I've studied it for so long, and I happen to put some pieces together that most people don't put together. So before I came out with that book, and before I came out with the plan to take that, make major motion pictures and all that kind of stuff, I knew I needed to ask permission. So I flew around to places. I can't say who they were, and they listened to my pitch, and then I got a email out of nowhere that says meet us next to the Pentagon at this day and time, and I did that. And from that,
you got an email from just a random person?
No, I just can't tell you who it's from.
Okay.
And so then I go out.
Meet you next to the Pentagon? So you just flew to the Pentagon?
I flew out to Pentagon City. Yeah. It's dude, this gets.
Were you freaking out?
I'll tell you when I started freaking out. There's more shit. It gets way worse. This is nothing. So that started me out near DC taking some other high level meetings, and there was somebody at a very high level that closed the door, looked me in the eye, and says, "Okay, I'm going to introduce you to somebody." And that person comes to San Diego, puts me on the phone with a general, and the general is listening to my little stump speech about what I want to do with this franchise, because I definitely didn't want to, I wasn't looking to like force disclosure, and I wasn't looking to be rogue and break secrets. I was like, look, I know what's going on here, and you guys are doing a kick-ass job, and I would have done the exact same thing should I have been the guy at the top that had to make some really hardcore decisions 70 years ago. So I want to support you. I think people are cynical because there's a vacuum. You guys can't say what you're doing. So all these people are just coming up with a bunch of bullshit to say, oh, they don't want us to know, or we can't handle it, or it's all about oil and money and all this weird shit.
But you had put these pieces together independently.
I did.
And so based on books that you read?
Yeah, people think that like places like the CIA and the DIA, all these intelligence organizations have, a monopoly on information. They don't. They get their information from the real world too. They do have access to archives of information. They do have access to some amazing, satellite data and stuff like that. But if you're smart and you take your time, you know where to look, and you find patterns, you can pretty much put together all the same shit they can, kind of, and that's what I did. And so when I pitched what I wanted to do, he said, come up and meet me tomorrow. And so I flew up to NASA, actually, NASA Ames, and had a 2-hour meeting there. And after 2 hours, that person says, he looks me in the eyes, I'm going to introduce you to someone else. And he did. And so I got on the phone with this person, and this person, go, I'm a skeptic. And then at the end of the conversation, he goes, fly out and see me. And so I did. And that's when things really started happening. So I fly out to this airport, and I sit at a table in a restaurant at the airport. No one's in there. And this gentleman sits down, and the waiter comes up. He waves off the waiter, and he looks me in the eye and says, it was the Cold War, and we found a life form. And that's when I started shitting my pants, because I know a lot about this stuff, but you always wait to talk to somebody that is one of the inside people. You always want to have...
So he sits down at a restaurant with you at the airport and tells you that they found a life form.
Yes. And
during the Cold War?
During the Cold War. And everything that they did and every decision they made at the time was because of the consciousness of the Cold War.
And why has this guy decided to meet with you at an airport?
Because the only way you meet with these people, the only way you ever would have anyone talk to you is if you can provide a service that they need. Mm-hmm. And my service was pretty interesting to them, because I said, look, you guys you struggle with saying disclosure. You want to tell everybody everything, which I don't think everyone should know everything. And then you say they can't handle it, so don't tell them anything, And I'm like, there's a middle road there, and here's the way I would do the middle road, and it resonated with them, And so we had a pretty epic conversation for like 2 hours.
Why you? Like, why? What is it about what your message was?
Because
what your idea was that made them want to tell you some top secret shit that they've tried to keep away from the American people.
Well,
I mean, you take a guy who's like a big celebrity who's in a huge rock band like you, and you just say, hey, meet me in an airport. I'm going to tell you about a life form that we found during the Cold War because you're famous or because you know things?
No, because I have a service. So it's not. It sounds easy when you play it like that, but
service.
A service. Like, what can you do for them that they need help with?
And what could you do?
Communication. They don't have a way to make a movie, a book. They don't know how. Don't have a way to make documentaries. They don't have a way to go on a big show like this and communicate with young people. They don't do that, and nor should they. They look at. You got to look at what they're doing.
So they look to you for a spokesperson role?
I wouldn't say spokesperson role.
Communication role?
A communication role. It makes more sense.
So they would give some information to you and you would get it out to people. And now why wouldn't they do it themselves? Because they wouldn't have the same platform?
They don't have
access to the same platform that you would have?
And the other reason is people have tried to do movies and stuff like this, but none of them know. I was fortunate enough to know the core story, and most people don't.
So explain that then, if you don't mind going back. Like,
sure.
When you said that you were able to put things together that other people weren't. What are those things?
Essentially, it's the book Secret Machines, where you have a lot of private finance, you have some world bankers, and you have a lot of people internationally working together to figure out a plan of how to push back against something that's been coming here for a very long time, but using off the books finances and using mechanisms that we're not totally aware exist. And what people have to realize is, the UFO phenomenon isn't a phenomenon. There's the universe is fucking gigantic, and there's life everywhere. Every fucking where, and there's a lot of life that's way more advanced than we are. And just like Voyager left our solar system, a little dinky satellite from the 70s, and just like my company's going to be building, this electromagnetic craft that really can do the same thing to time that I've been telling you about. Other civilizations have that too, which means you can traverse those distances of space. And what you have to think about is what happened when we first discovered that, and what did we do about it? And there's no, you got to look at 47 in a very peculiar way. 90 days after the Roswell event, CIA was created, the Air Force was separated from the Army, the National Security Act was created, and all those things are mechanisms to start learning more and to start getting private industry off the ground.
So that had nothing to do with World War II. You think it had to do with aliens?
Oh, I absolutely think it. Well, both, because what I believe crashed at Roswell was, I believe it was German from Argentina, but it had hallmarks and technology based on alien technology. So we put out a story saying it's alien, and then we put out a story saying it's a weather balloon. But the real thing it was, we didn't want anyone to guess, and that's why we put those two things out there. And that's kind of how they do it. I think they did that with the moon. It's like, we went to the moon, and then they put out this meme kind of thing, like we didn't go to the moon, but they didn't want people really going, well, what's on the moon? That so these things are managed until they can figure it out, because you got a bunch of normal dudes in suits sitting at a big table like this, and it's their fucking responsibility to figure this thing out. And this shit is monumentally big. But back to
how would they manage this then? If these regular dudes without access to communication like you have, how have they managed to disseminate this information and sort of confuse everybody?
I think, I can tell, I don't know how they did it. I do know that they infiltrated UFO groups. That was the very first thing they did in the 50s.
Sort of like how FBI agents and undercover cops infiltrated Occupy Wall Street and pretended to be radical hippies and started fights. Yep,
they did that. They get access to what the civilians are learning, how information transfers from one group to another, and then they start deflecting all their knowledge and putting in leaks and this and that, and getting them off the main track, not because of a disdain for citizens and not because of any other reason then picture ISIS. We don't know what ISIS is. They got a nuclear bomb, and we caught a guy trying to sneak in this bomb.
Right.
Are they going to stop and come sit on your couch and tell you all about it? No. And if you're like on the radio and there's all these people going, oh my God, we're going to die, a bomb, a bomb, a bomb. They'll hold up a second. You know, you're not going to fucking die, but we need to learn more about this, and we got to figure it out before we sit down and talk to you about it.
Episode number 1526 with Ali Makovsky. Joe Rogan dives into alien language, digital consciousness, free will, and simulation theory.
I got super high once. I think it was in the tank. And when I came out, I had this idea that alien life, if it wanted to communicate with us, would come up with a way, like a type of language that everyone could understand. Like a language that got right into your brain. A language that instead of you having to interpret what the sounds mean and turn them into words, it's some new kind of technology that allow, like as they're making this sound, as they're putting out the signal, it's going straight into you. And you automatically understand it.
Yeah.
Without knowing what they're saying, without having actual, Bob said you guys should come to the spaceship. Instead of seeing, you know what it means without having hearing sound. Like you'll have to disassociate the idea of these sounds meaning these words. You'll just know what it means.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie
Arrival.
was crazy.
Well, didn't they do it like visually?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was like time doesn't matter.
Right.
There's no sentence. It was all memes and like.
Right.
That
And it was like they would spray black ink into the sky, right? What did they
Right.
do for language? Let me see what it looked like again. Yeah, there it goes. They spray black ink and it makes like weird patterns, and that's how they would communicate.
Have you
But that
seen?
makes sense.
Yeah. Have you seen the trailer for Tenet? Is that what it's called? It
I've
looks
been
so
excited
crazy.
for that movie to come out for a while.
Yes.
So mad the lockdown fucked it up.
I think there's a guy named Ray Kurzweil,
Hmm.
and he's this brilliant guy who wants to live to be 1,000 years old, and he's got this series of patents that he's come up with. I mean, he's really like a legitimately genius guy, and I got a chance to interview him once a way back. But one of the things that we talked about was he was talking about downloading consciousness into a computer. And they think that there's going to come a point in time where you will be eternal because you're going to figure out a way to take whoever Ali Makovsky is and put it in a computer and download it. And your material body, your physical body, your biological body won't mean anything anymore. You're going to exist as you inside this computer, inside this thing. I've always thought that that's probably what alien life is. What alien life is something that has gotten to the point where it doesn't need a physical form anymore. Like whatever consciousness is, they figured out a way to contain it in non-biological systems. So they take whatever you are when you're born, but then the thing is like, how does that thing replicate? What are they doing to make it? What are they doing? What are they doing to make sure the power stays on? Like, what are they doing? I think
Keto.
probably squats. I think life could be all kinds of shapes. I think life could be like there was some speculations these scientists were trying to figure out whether or not light could be a life form. Like there could be forms of life that are made entirely of light.
Well, everything's energy, right?
I don't know if everything's energy.
I don't know. I thought
I've seen
I'd
a
throw
lot of
that out
people
and
that
it
are
would
like-
make sense.
Just really lazy.
But like we're made of energy, you know?
Yeah, we're made of energy. But what we think of as life, we think of as like a frog.
Yeah.
Or like an Ali Makovsky
Something
or
with
Jamie
a
Vernon.
pulse.
Yeah, but it's possible that life might be like I've thought about ideas. Like when you have an idea and then that idea gets in your head, like, man, I don't like that idea. And then you start working to fulfill that idea. You build a thing. Like maybe you have an idea like how to build a thing. And then you build a thing. Like that's a thing that like forced you to make it. It's like you had an idea that jumped into your brain. And then it's like, listen, bitch, you need to make a canoe. Like a canoe.
Yeah.
How would I make a canoe? You take a log, you
Yeah.
fucking hollow out the side, and you roll around inside of it. Just go down the river. And then all of a sudden, this idea that pops into your head, and you start doing all the work. Now you have a physical thing that literally allowed itself to be born by getting this idea that invades your consciousness and tricks you into making things.
Doesn't that make you think that everything's already kind of decided? Like, you know, you have free will and control, but to some extent, everything's kind of already, what's going to happen is going to happen.
That's not necessarily true. I think you do have free will, but I think you also have determinism. I think this is something that people have argued successfully where you really have to take a step back and go, okay, what do I think about who a person is right now? Like if I meet a person and I meet this woman and she's all fucked up and she lies a lot and she likes to do drugs and she doesn't know what she's doing with her life and she cries. Like, oh, get your shit together, bitch. Is that what you think? Like, what do you think when you meet a person like that? Do you take into consideration, like, oh, this is a person who is the granddaughter of alcoholics, and it all boiled down to genetics and terrible. So all of her systems that came online when she was 2 and 5 and 6, they all came online during alcoholic households. And people were physically abusive, and you're hiding in the corner of your bedroom, and it was all chaos and
How do you know my life
drinking
story?
when you're 12. Like, when you get to that 35-year-old person and they've gone through this insane pattern without any intervention, nothing switches, how much of their life are they really responsible for?
Yeah.
It's a real question. It's like, who are you? You are the combination of all the things that have ever happened to you, your genetics, all the weird shit that you inherit from your parents. Like you inherit a lot of ideas, they think, even from your parents. Not just like learn from them, but actually inherit these ideas. And then you do the best with what you got.
Yeah.
And some people's got is fucking terrible.
Yeah. Do you think we're living in a simulation?
I'm too dumb
Same.
to take that into consideration, but I think it seems legitimately weird. It seems like it changes too much. Like reality itself changes too much.
Yeah.
And things come up that seem like if there was going to be a simulation, this is how it would go down. Like I remember when I first started reading about simulation theory, it was right around the time where Anthony Weiner got busted for sending pictures of his dick. I'm like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
Like that seems like
It's so on the nose.
seems like something you would
So
really.
on the wiener.
If your name was Weiner, you'd avoid showing people your hog.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is
You'd
a terrible.
castrate yourself. No more wiener.
But if we're going to come up with one someday, obviously not you and me, but someone really smart is going to come up with a simulation, it's going to eventually get good enough where you can't tell that you're in a simulation.
That's what's fucked up.
That's what's fucked up. What's fucked up is if it isn't here, it's coming.
Yeah.
This took me a long time. Like I had a conversation with this guy, Nick Bolstrom, who's a brilliant guy who is a big proponent of this concept. And he was explaining it through like probability theory. And I was a little too dumb to understand what he was saying, but basically what he's saying is
That's how I feel listening to your podcast.
if it's possible that someday someone, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, someday we'll have a simulation. Like what are the odds that this is a simulation? It's more likely that this is a simulation than not.
Yeah. You just got to pray that whoever's doing the simulation is looking out for you.
The other possibility is that we know the simulation's coming. That's the other possibility, and that's why everybody's freaked out. Everybody's freaked out because even though it's not here, it's inevitable. If you follow the pattern of innovation, if you go from pioneers to people who live in cities to cell phones and internet and fucking Space Force, and you just keep going, eventually you get to a point where someone figures out how to make an artificial version of life, whether it's Ray Kurzweil's thing, where it downloads you into a computer, or whether it's the thing you sit and connect to.
Yeah.
Someone's going to come up with something.
Do you think we'd know that we were in the simulation when it happens,
Then it
or it
would
would
suck.
just like ease
Then it would
into
suck.
it?
You don't want that.
Yeah, no.
You want something where it's crazy.
Yeah.
And you don't even know you're in it. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, am I in the simulation?
Who knows?
That's the best simulation. The best simulation is you have no idea.
Oh,
You're-
yeah.
You're locked completely into it. So that's where our problem lies. We don't know if that's actually going on right now. Like for Trump, if somebody brought Trump aside, like sat Trump aside and said, Mr. Trump, all of this seems highly unlikely, doesn't it? Well, here's why.
Yeah.
You are in a simulation. This simulation was started 78 years ago, and this is the pattern. It plays out. You're given a large amount of money to start your own businesses.
Yeah.
You're going to put your name on everything. You're going to be the best, the
Yeah.
best, but you have crazy hair.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You just fucking spray it down. You're good. You have a few flaws in your life. People are mad at you, though, but you're going to be the best. You're going to have the best things, the biggest. You're going to have the business. Everything's going to be amazing. And then you come up to him and like you wake him up and you say, listen, this seems crazy. It seems crazy because it is. And you settled upon a very bizarre pattern in your simulation, and this is how it came out. And everyone else is mad at you, but they just don't understand. This wasn't your fault. You didn't mean to. But then you think of all the things that we counted before, like poverty, abuse, drug addict parents, all the different things that make a person who they are, right? Those are really kind of like factors in if you had a game. Like if you were playing some sort of a large-scale role-playing game, you're like, what is my character going to be like? Oh, your character's a barbarian. You're in the Matrix. That's what you're showing me.
Yeah, it's like you're describing like when Morpheus talks to Neo. He's like, "Hey, what do you think?"
But it is
the red pill or the blue pill?
It is like that, and it is essentially what it will be. If we're staying in this human form, essentially someone's going to figure out a way to put a helmet on you, or put a fucking spike in the back of your head that like locks your central nervous system into this gigantic computer that starts sending signals to your brain and tricks your brain into thinking it's riding on a horse through the fucking the Saudi Arabian desert. That's going to come. It's just whether or not it's here yet. It's going to come. They're going to keep making things. If we don't blow each other up, there's going to be a cell phone that lets you see God. You're gonna like call God. And God's going to be in front of you, hugging you, giving you love.
Isn't that what psychedelics are kind of like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that could be what we're trying to recreate. What we're trying to get to could be like a state that's similar to what exists already in nature. Like maybe they're interconnected in some sort of a way. Like maybe someone will figure out, maybe someone who is anti-drug will figure out a way to recreate psychedelic experiences using only technology that interfaces with your brain and turns all those chemicals on.
Episode number 2348 with Lucas Nelson, Joe Rogan explores why biblically accurate angels look like alien geometric beings. Episode number 2339 with Big J and Louis J. Gomez, blurry alien photos, belief, hoaxes, and the quest with Tom Papa. Joe dives into Oumuamua, alien probe theories, and strange cosmic possibilities.
But he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good in everything.
He looks so young there.
Oh, he was, man.
Man, oh, man.
What a fucking movie this was, because I wanted to believe so bad after this movie.
Yeah.
I so wanted to believe. They got me.
Hey, did you talk about that?
Spielberg.
Did you talk about that alien craft that came into our
What happened? What are you talking
into our
about?
Galaxy?
It did?
The one with the Hawaiian name?
Oh, so it's over.
You didn't hear about that one?
The one that looks like a joint?
Yeah, it looks or a big piece of poo.
Yeah, that's just a rock,
The big
right?
duty copter.
It's just a weird rock, I think.
No, they said that some like legit people said that it changed speed and went in different directions.
Oh,
and
legit people.
Legit people.
Oh.
Scientists.
Oh, them guys.
Said that it was it could be something.
Could be.
What does Neil deGrasse say about it?
He's not talking right now.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of a kerfuffle.
Kerfuffle. What's this, Jamie?
This thing right. Yeah.
Harvard scientists say
Billions
aliens
of
may
miles
explain
away.
bizarre interstellar object. Yeah, I saw that, and then I saw someone refuting that they
Harvard
would.
scientists. Harvard.
Nobody wants to believe more than me, bro.
Come on, Joe. It's real.
Well, if I was going to mask my spaceship to fly through the galaxy, I would definitely make it look like a big rock.
yeah, like a big
Yeah.
asteroid
Right. Why wouldn't you?
driving through space.
Maybe if they were like, look, if we just make this thing drive by them and don't change speeds, they'll have no idea. Just think we're an
Right.
asteroid, and they'll be psyched that we missed them. Like, yeah, good call.
And the guy's like, left turn!
Someone just hits the gas. I'm tired. I don't want to. It's fucking taking too long.
What'd
Like,
you
he
do,
just
Dave?
decides,
What?
Dude, you got it. The fucking cops are behind us, Dave. Shit.
God damn it, Dave. You're not supposed to just take off.
I told you. 65, you fuck. Let's start throwing this weed out the window.
Why would it be so hard to believe? A space rock traveling through space.
That would be the move, right? I mean, if they're so advanced that they can travel through galaxies, they can make the shit look like anything they want it to.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you doll it up?
Radiation pressure,
The only thing that I would
accelerating
think, though,
force.
would be, well, there's no air in space, right? So it wouldn't be aerodynamics. What would it be, momentum?
No, go down a little bit. I think it answers your question. If radiation pressure is the accelerating force, then Oumuamua represents a new class of thin interstellar material.
Whoa.
It has a different thing that it's using for energy.
What?
As to what may have produced this previously unseen material, it could have emerged naturally from the debris of the planet-forming disk in a distant solar system going through yet an unknown process. They've got a whole nother way to make... We went from Toyota Corollas to this thing.
Jesus Christ. Imagine If that's what we find. The only thing that I would think
That's what it does.
the weird, like a rock, right? Rock is not smooth, but it doesn't necessarily need. This is where I'm stupid. This is one of many places where I'm stupid. But it doesn't necessarily need to be aerodynamic, right? Because it's not going through air. It's going through the vacuum of space.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm not wrong there. It could actually look like a rock.
It could be.
The only issue would be getting it into space, right? The aerodynamics, assuming that you're shooting it from a planet with an atmosphere. Again,
right. Gravity.
Should not be talking about this. Way too stupid.
No, let's go. That's what life's
going.
about.
If you're launching it from Earth into space, right?
Yeah.
What if you had it encased in like this outer area, sort of like the space shuttle is?
Yeah.
But then once you get to a place, you could jettison the outside of it, just like they get rid of those booster rockets.
Yeah, they fall
right?
off.
They just fall into the fucking
disintegrate.
Land on people while they're fishing.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
That has to have happened, right?
Yeah.
Imagine getting killed by a booster rocket flying out of space and hit you in the face.
Didn't
Fuck.
disintegrate.
But then they could do that. They could release the shell, and then they would just have the rock. And the rock would move through space, and it didn't matter what shape it was because it's in the vacuum of space.
Or just get it up into orbit, like the space station, go and build it in pieces, and then launch it.
Do you remember when that Commander Chris Hadfield gentleman was on the podcast, and he was talking about some kind of magnet that they have that collects subatomic particles out there in the galaxy, and that we only know 5% of what the universe is made out of.
Oh my God.
When they're talking about things like dark matter. And he was
5%.
And this is a guy's scientist, space, a real legit astronaut coming back from 6 months in space or whatever the fuck he was there for, and telling us this. We're like,
wow.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
We've talked about
God.
that. Like, you can hang with those guys for a little while, and then you're like, I don't understand what's happening now.
Well, it's also it's amazing what we do know. Amazing that they can send a guy to space and have him fly around the ISS or,
Well, talk about what you were saying about why are we here and what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, we haven't developed yet something that can go the speed of light. We haven't, but if we do, then the whole universe is open to us. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the struggle of developing all this stuff is to get to a scientific level where we can really go.
I don't think they think the speed of light is even good enough.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn it. That was my goal.
I think that, if you wanted to have options available as to what planet you're going to colonize, you're going to have to, who knows, what if you land on a planet? What if you land on a planet and it's like, hey, it's 74 degrees out. Guys, it's all oxygen and nitrogen. It's just like Earth. Come on out here. But it's only been like that for 10 years. And then its cycle is really fucked up. 30 years from now, it's going to be an ice age.
It'll be horrible.
All the people have moved there and they're going to freeze to death and there's going to be no food at all. And the planet doesn't give a fuck. That is
all our science led us to that.
I don't even know if we can predict. Here's my question. Can they accurately predict the atmosphere and the conditions and what the temperature would be if a planet is from a sun? Do they have a calculation where they say, oh, this sun is this amount of big and this planet is this far away, so it's definitely going to stay within a certain temperature range for the entire time that the planet... Do they know that within a death range?
I don't know.
Because a death
I would
range
think
is
so.
only 40 degrees.
They must.
Death range is 40 degrees, bro.
Yeah.
You get to 140, that's a wrap.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. So 100 you can make it, 140 everyone's dead. Right? You're living in a sauna, you're going to run out of water. I just don't think we're going to make it.
Episode number 1279 with Jessime Peluso, Joe Rogan dives into Bob Lazar's wild UFO and Area 51 claims.
I got home from the Comedy Store at 2, and then I watched some goofy... I've been on this UFO documentary kick.
Watching UFO documentaries?
Yeah, I told you it was David. I started talking about it.
Yeah, we were talking about that. What were you? Did you have something specific that you saw recently?
Yeah,
the documentary.
2 of them. One of them is Area 51, Bob Lazar, and Area 51 and flying saucers. It's a documentary on this guy who claimed that he worked on these alien ships in Area 51 in the 1980s.
That gave me chills.
As time's gone on, more of the things that he said have proven to actually be true.
Like what?
Including an element that he talked about, element 115, I think it was called.
Like an organism from outer space?
No, an element, like a man-created element, like there's carbon.
Right.
There's an element that they created that he talked about way before it was ever publicized. and he talked about this thing, and then it turned out to be true. He talked about these. There's these hand monitors that you would put your hand on this thing, and these metal lines would detect the distances in the bones of your fingers, the exact distances, and everyone is different. It's like a signature thing. And that they could find out if it was you or not you that was trying to go through. So the way they would scan people, the bioscan, would literally measure the bones in their fingers. And people said that was horseshit.
Wild.
He talked about this in the 1980s. People said it was horseshit, but then later on turned out, no, they did have that in Los Alamos. They did have that in Area 51, and that this technology was very, very
advanced.
Not just very advanced, but it was not well known at all. Like, very few people did. And this guy who was creator of this documentary, it was very difficult for them to get photos of this hand scanner. But this hand scanner did exist, and existed exactly as this guy described it.
In the 80s, I mean, that's super progressive for that time.
There's also
even
people
for now.
that did approve his top secret clearance to get to this place. They know that he actually worked there. There's people that worked in the same Los Alamos lab with him. They tried to say he never worked there, but his name's on the manifest. It's very strange. It's like they've tried to erase parts of this guy's past because he filmed a bunch of their crafts as they were flying around. Like, he knew what days. This is the thing. That thing right there, you put your hand on that, and it actually measures the distance of the size and length of your bones.
That looks like something that's inside of an escape room in L.A.
It does. It's hilarious. It's so true. But
Doesn't it?
I went into this documentary skeptical.
As you should.
Yeah, but I'm so done with all those things. But listen to this guy talk for a while. After a while, I was like, what if he's telling the truth? Like, what if he is actually telling the truth? Because if he's actually telling the truth, there is some part of the government that had access, at least in the 1980s, to alien technology.
I mean,
there
it probably
spaceships.
is. There probably is some truth to that. Crazier things have happened. And also, like, just your mentality of believing him is probably the same thing that made Dr. Malachi Lovejoy Robinson III become successful.
A con artist?
Yeah. I mean, either this dude, there's validity of what he's saying in this documentary, which I can't wait to watch, or he's just really great at painting a picture. Some people are so good at convincing you
That's true.
of truths.
True.
There's, people with like borderline personality disorder and every sort of spectrum in between there. They become really good manipulators.
That is true. However, usually they do that in more than one avenue.
Absolutely.
And this guy's not doing that.
Yeah, so if it's just a documentary, then...
Yeah, also hasn't varied his story. Like, I mean, he might have, like, changed the way he says things in terms of, like, the words he chooses, but the actual story is exactly the same as he was telling a long time ago.
Is this a self-produced documentary, or is there a production company involved?
No, a production company
See, that's
involved.
where it's like, okay, there's probably some validity to this.
But this guy's been around for a long time. I remember reading about him and watching videos about him, 20 years ago.
I mean, don't you think you're somebody who, you said, and I know this about you, you love space. You're obsessed with that, the idea of what we are in the solar system and beyond. Like, how impossible is it to think that there could be a creature that could breach our atmosphere with some advanced technology and be able to just sort of chill, scoot around, scoots, magoots, check us out, and fucking peace out back up to wherever they're from?
I don't think that's how they would do it, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know exactly. They scoots, magoots. Yeah, they just kind of cruise around, they're looking at us.
Well, he had an interesting
little
analogy.
reconnaissance.
He said if you brought an atomic engine to these people that live in the Victorian era and said, hey, this is a nuclear power plant. Like, here, check this out. They would fuck with it. They'd wind up getting sick from radiation. They'd wind up dying. No one would understand what it was or how it worked. They would never figure it out.
Right.
He goes, why would we assume that this is only from that one time with this one device? Why wouldn't we assume that there'd be some other technology that maybe we'll create someday in the future? I'm paraphrasing him very poorly.
Yes, it's okay.
Or someone
You're a
else
scientist.
from another planet would create that we wouldn't understand at all. And he said, and that's what we were dealing with when we were trying to back engineer the propulsion systems that these things use. They use some gravity-based propulsion system. And it was something that would manipulate gravity in front of it. I'm too stupid to know the science of it. I don't know if he's if you were
You're
a scientist,
you're supposed to know these things.
Not yet. I have to get my degree.
Joseph
I need to
Rogan.
get a degree so I can call myself a doctor.
You should.
I just want to get an honorary one like Cosby had.
Why? It's gone now. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it anymore.
Back.
They
The
took that
honorary
shit
ones
back.
they could take back.
Yeah, take them back. He can't keep those.
Yeah.
He can't keep that.
Actually, I think he wrote an essay, and that's how they gave him his doctorate.
I
But that's
mean,
neither here nor there.
gross.
Probably got more than one doctorate.
I mean, I'm sure he did, and he didn't deserve them. But I think, there's got to be stuff out there.
100%.
100%.
But I like to say there's not. It's like, stop.
You think
Stop
this is just
dwelling
it?
No, I don't think it is. But it is entirely possible. I use that phrase too often.
And it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
You got to get a
get a
mashup of
new
all
one.
of those.
Oh, it's already out there. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's like 150,000 of them.
That needs to be on a shirt.
It's possible that we're the most advanced. That's
It
possible
is a possibility.
too, because something has to be the most advanced.
Absolutely, and something has to be the least. We could also be on that part of the spectrum.
Sure.
Maybe we're the last to evolve.
It's 100% possible. Like
If-
if there's an infinite number of life forms out there, like if there's an infinite number of planets and there's an infinite number of Earth-like planets that could have beings like us on it, who's to say that we're not the most advanced? Maybe they're all like people from the 1820s.
Yeah, they're
They
still
haven't caught up to us yet.
chiseling shit. They're still doing,
I don't think they chiseled in the
stone and
1820s.
chisels. But I'm talking like old shit. They don't even have pens and papers yet.
Like the orangutan that was
Yeah,
fishing with a spear.
Exactly. There's just a
Yeah.
bunch of advanced orangutans that are like, putting hieroglyphics in caves.
It's possible.
It is very possible.
It's totally possible.
But because we're just basing it off of our own experience and
Right.
perception of what we have been exposed to.
The
We have no
other-
idea.
The other really interesting scenario is that they're time travelers.
Ooh,
Is
that's
that-
that's exciting to think
what
about.
they are is some being from the far distant future that understands that it could come back and observe us and see like where things went wrong, where things went right, but do so in a way that's as minimally intrusive as possible and occasionally interfere with things.